Besh, nakabakuna ka na? Amligan, ang ikaayong lawas, magpabakuna na para abanse ka.
Hello, ako si Billy Crawford. Bakunado ako. Ikaw yan. Saan o ka pa? Magpabakuna na para abanse ka.
If it's too good to be true, it probably is. Huwag magpabiktima. Baka makompromiso lang ang privacy mo.
OMG! Nanalo ko ng BMW! Pero wala naman akong sinalihan eh.
Hi sir! Pa-fill up naman po ng online form namin with free gifts.
Yes, ako yun.
Sir, your 5 million peso loan has been approved. I need to verify your full name, address, and birthday.
My full name is...
Huwag magpabiktima sa mga modus na ganito. Ang personal information na ibinibigay mo ay maaaring magamit ng labag sa iyo. That is why privacy matters. Kakampi mo ang National Privacy Commission. Protektahan ang iyong right to privacy. Piliin ang pagkakatiwalaan ng personal information mo.
Nakakaasar, no? Would you believe may naloloko pa rin ito? Minsan ang teknolohiya, hindi puro happy at lucky lang. Pag nakompromiso ang iyong personal information at privacy, maaari itong makasama sa ating finances, ekonomiya, social life, love life at iba pa. Halimbawa, pagbukas mo ng email mo, daming messages na nag-o-offer. Di mo naman knows. Daming stalker ah. Ganito kasi yan, bes. Nag-post ka sa social media. Nag-register ka sa isang event. Hiningi nila yung personal information mo. Dahil excited ka at libre, binigay mo naman. Yung personal info mo, minsan, pinapasa ito para sa profiling o direct marketing. Buti ganyan lang. Paano kung ganito? Shocking, no? Pero don't stress yourself dahil meron na tayong batas dyan. National Privacy Commission ang kakampi mo sa iyong right to privacy. Life goal natin, ang maayos at secure na processing ng personal information mo. Know your rights, Bes. You have the right to be informed, right to object, right to access, right to rectification, right to erasure or blocking, right to damages, right to data portability, at right to file a complaint. Maaari mo itong ipadala sa complaints@privacy.gov.ph. Kung may iba ka pang katanungan, ipadala sa info@privacy.gov.ph. Galing, di ba? At kung may magkakasala, National Privacy Commission din ang kakampi mo. At may kaparusahan sa paglabag ng right to privacy mo. Bes, ikaw lang ang pwedeng magsabi kung kanino ka magtitiwala. Yan ang ibig sabihin ng privacy. Visit www.privacy.gov.ph.
Ako si Bayani ang Bayani. Rest back sa COVID. Magpabakuna na para sigurado.
Uy, Isa! Nakita mo na ba yung bagong launch ng Pineapple laptop?
Hindi pa, patingin nga. Wow, ang ganda niya na. I really have to buy that one. But wait, what? $2,000 for that?
I know.
Ayokong mahal.
Check mo na lang sa ibang reseller. I'm sure may mas cheap pa.
Ito. This is way cheaper, right? Pwede na. Teka, isn't it too much for a single transaction? I might get scammed. Remember, for every transaction, only give out the necessary personal information. Isang paalala mula sa National Privacy Commission.
Talaga? Let me check. Grant access to my location? Okay. Pati email address? Psst. Remember, be careful in downloading and granting permission to mobile applications, lalo na sa location mo. Isang paalala mula sa National Privacy Commission.
Technology is reshaping our lives. It dramatically changed the way we live, the way we learn. Technology is reshaping our lives. It dramatically changed the way we Technology is reshaping our lives. It dramatically changed the way we live.
Talaga? Let me check. Talaga? Let me check.
Can you do a research on this? I need it by the end of the day.
Okay, boss.
Grant access to my location?
So where should I start? Remember, only visit safe and trustworthy websites when searching online.
Isang paalala mula sa National Privacy Commission.
Magandang araw! Welcome to NOLITC's Gender and Development Webinar. It's the day 7 of the 18-day campaign to end violence against women. Our learning session for today is about communication in the new normal, and we are streaming live over YouTube and Facebook. The Gender and Development Webinars of NOLITC is another pioneering project of NOLITC Tech4ED Center that aims to provide relevant ICT-enabled services and content to unserved and underserved communities. We are immensely happy that you took time off your busy schedules to join us today. My name is Ms. Red Lorente, and I will be serving as your host. Please post your greetings in the comment section. Let us know where you are joining us from. We would love to know. Before we start with our webinar for this afternoon, first let us have the prayer to be followed by the singing of the Philippine National Anthem and the Negros hymn.
O labing makagagahom nga amay namon sa langit, mahinuklugon nga laon nga tagtugas ang langit, hangin, kalayo, tubig kag duta. Tanda ining imong timawa, kabay ining pag-ampo, magadulot sa amon sang kabuhi nga himaya. Salamat sa mga bugay nga imo ginpaambit sa amon. Salamat sa kabuhi nga ginadulot mo sa amon nga himpit. Salamat sa maayo nga panahon kag ilabi na gid sang imo katutom sa amon. Bendisyon ni ang imo katawhan. Bendisyone ang ilang mga palangabuhian. Bendisyone ang mga panggas sa amon mga talamnan. Bendisyone ang ilang nga paglugayawan sa iban nga kapungsuran. Kabay, makalabot sila nga walay sablag sa ila pagapadulungan. Kag ila binagid, bendisyone ining isla sang Negros nga amon na tawhan. Kinahalad namon ang ining pag-ampo para sa imo kadayawan.
Kayang magiliw kaysa silanganan, alam ng puso sa dibdib mo'y buhay. Lupang inirang, duyan ka ng magiting, sa manlulupig, di ka pasisihil. Sa dagat at bundok, sa simoy at sa langit mong bughaw, may hilag ang tula at awit sa paglayang minamahal. Ang kisap ng watawat mo'y tagumpay na nagdinigdig. Ang bituin at araw niyang kailan pa may magdidilim. Lupa ng araw na walhagit pansinta, buhay ay langit sa piling mo. Ang hinigaya na pag may mga api, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
Sa kita kapamilya, pagbuligay, pagigay, pagigong, manapat mag-ari sa akin na probinsya. Magotod na Negros isa katawagan, mapinalang tao, sa buwan na dampuan na isakripiso, sa kauswagan, sa sikatao. Sa kasahan, abot wala may mapilig sa kalulong, nanangalos ka nangais na ako. Ang matutod na Negros isa katawagan, mapilalang tao, sa buwan na dampuan na isang tigiso, sa kauswagan, sa sikatao. Ang matutod na Negros sa katawagan, mapilalang tao, sa punadang ko ang dating sakripisyo, pagbulikan, paghigain, paghibog mo, dapat maghari, para sa kauswagan, ng sikatao.
Again, greetings to our participants from Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao, and to the other parts of the world. Thank you for joining us today. This year, GAD Talks goes virtual with a series of webinar. Recently, the center has pivoted to online training and conducted various in-demand webinars. This is our urgent and most accessible response to the ongoing global health crisis through providing relevant services and facilitating digital inclusiveness of communities. In 2020, NOLITC made a milestone when PhilSecNet awarded the center with Pandemic Resilience Award for its support to students and teachers category. We are also recognized nationally as Outstanding Tech4ED Center by the Department of Information and Communications Technology. This year, the three programs of NOLITC are recognized with Star Awards by TESDA, namely 2-star award in our Contact Center Services NC2 and another 2-star award in our Visual Graphic Design NC3 and 1-star award in our 2D Animation NC3 program. The star rating system recognizes the accomplishments, innovations, and improvements that the center has instituted beyond the minimum requirements set by TESDA. The Learning Center is one of the priority programs of Governor Eugenio Sebang Lacson under his 7-point priority agenda, Avance Negrense. NOLITC also offers various scholarships for our free online training, TESDA certified courses, and other special programs through the Negros Occidental Training for Work Scholarship Program with support of the Provincial Gender and Development Focal Point System. If you want to know more about our scholarship opportunities, kindly visit our website, that's www.nolitc.gov. These webinars are absolutely free. That's right. To join, all you need to do is to register once and you will be given access to the entire webinars. There's no need to register again. Let me remind you to fill out the online attendance right now. The link to the online attendance is pinned in the description box and in the comment section, or you may also screen or scan the QR code flashed on your screen right now. Allow me to give you the time and the opportunity to do the online attendance. Right. We will not be able to catch up with all of your comments, so if you have any questions, please post them in the open forum form. To participate in the open forum, you will need to post your questions through an online open forum form. Please find the link in the description box below as well. Or you may scan a QR code flash on your screen. Again, the link to our open forum can be found in the description box below. The moderator will bring them up towards the end of the presentation. So I hope you could participate in the discussion online. And for those of you who are asking, you will be receiving a certificate for attending this webinar online. That's right. You only need to accomplish the online evaluation of the webinar. Again, the online evaluation can be found in the description box below. It is not yet open at this time, but we will be opening the link to our evaluation at the end or after the presentation. All right. So if you have not seen our previous post yet, you can always check out our social media accounts, follow us on Facebook, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. I hope you're all catching up with me with some of our opening reminders. Allow me or give me this chance to greet our online participants. A pleasant afternoon. Let me start with Ma'am Luisa Garcia Tutor. Hello, Ma'am. Thank you for joining us. And we have here our avid follower, Sir Greg Bancolo. Good afternoon. And he says, good afternoon, everyone, especially to those who are from Tabo National High School, to the faculty and staff and students of Tabo National High School, Ilog, Negros Occidental. Hello. We have here also Sir Marvin. Hello, sir, and thank you for joining us. Nicole Lee. We have here a participant all the way from Malaysia. Thank you for joining us. right. And for Jem and Flores watching from Sagay City, thank you. And hello there. Jason Jansen Olive. Hello there, Sir Jason. I hope we were able to answer your inquiry. Shapi Roberts. Good afternoon. Hi there again. And we have also Sir Michael Franz Durano, of course, from Kamsi Talisay Center for External Affairs, for always joining us. Right. And Sir Andre Makilan, good afternoon to you as well. And yeah, we do really encourage you to share the link to our webinar to your friends, colleagues, and peers, and all together, let us learn. To kickstart today's webinar, allow me to introduce to you our moderator for this learning session, who will also be introducing our resource speaker. Our moderator for today completed her degree in Bachelor of Arts major in Broadcast Communication and Management from the University of the Philippines in the Visayas. She has 7 years of extensive experience as a reporter and news writer, where she covered political beat to present local news, report in the public radio style. She's currently the school registrar of the center. She can easily make everyone feel that they matter. Let's give a glad hand to a very lovely colleague of mine, Miss Sally Carman Trio.
Thank you so much, Red, for the kind words. Okay, so most of you have probably experienced some challenges with communicating in the new normal. Wearing masks, facials on, and social distancing really presents hurdles most of us haven't considered years ago. So how can you make your interaction more effective as possible? So we will learn more of that from our topic, communication in the new normal, with the following objectives. Identify the key concepts on communication in the new normal, identifying the types of communication, and understanding effective communication in the new normal. Without further ado, let me introduce to you our resource speaker today. She is an advocate for women's and children's rights and was the founder and executive director of the Media Advocates for Reproductive Health and Empowerment, which trained media practitioners in the Visayas on gender sensitivity and reproductive health and rights. She is a PR practitioner and a journalist, having worked for the Manila Times for over a decade and was a contributor to an international news wires. She had a short stint in government service as the chief of staff of former board member Enrique Miguel Lacson and executive assistant to the late Governor Alfredo Marañon Jr. She was a columnist of the Visayan Daily Star in Bacolod and now writes for Digicast Negros with a regular column entitled Perspective. She also writes for Panay News, a regional paper in Visayas, in Western Visayas, under Winds of Sugarlandia. Let us all welcome with virtual applause, heart and like emojis, our speaker this afternoon, Ms. Mate Espira.
Thank you, Sally. Thank you for that kind introduction. And thank you very much for inviting me again to this forum.
So how are you, Mate?
I'm okay. I'm good. Thank you. How are you?
I'm good too. So I know that our viewers right now are very excited to hear from you. So without further ado, you may now take the virtual floor.
Thank you. Mayong hapon sa tanan. Good afternoon, everyone. And for those listening or tuning in to us from other parts of the globe, a very, very good afternoon. May I ask for the slide share, please? So as mentioned by Sally earlier, my topic is going to be about communication in the new normal. So there's this whole gamut of conversation about how we should communicate under the new normal circumstance that we are living in. So allow me first to start off this presentation by defining what communication is all about. Next slide, please. So communication is defined as the act of giving, receiving, and sharing information. In other words, it's talking, it's writing, it's listening, it's reading, and a whole lot more. No, it is important though, and they are stressing it, that the best communicators are actually who listen carefully, who speak or write clearly, not in mumbo jumbo, not in big words, but simple and clear messaging, and more importantly, respectful of the opinions of others. Okay, so klaro tada ha? We have to be respectful of the opinion of others. Next slide, please. So what about the so-called new normal? Many of us have not lived, no? Now pa lang natin to na we're living through this. The word new normal. And it is defined as a state to which an economy or the society settles following a crisis, when this differs from the situation that prevailed prior to the start of the crisis. And what are we talking here about? We are talking of the COVID-19 pandemic that has become and still is a world crisis. Di ba? Ngayon lang encounter yung world, the new normal. So next slide, please. So under the new normal, this is just an illustration of what was then and the now. No? So if you can see the picture on top, we were all congregating in groups. You know, we go to schools, we go to work. But suddenly, when the COVID-19 pandemic strike, we find ourselves face masks, social distancing, 1 meter, 4 meters apart, etc., etc. No? And as they say, the new normal is actually anything but normal. Hindi siya normal because the normal before is never this. Now, under the new normal, we should be wearing of masks. No, we should be wearing masks, and they say, experts are saying that we will actually be in this situation in the next 3 to 5 years. So imagine walking around, going to work, going to malls, socializing, always with masks on for another 3 to 5 years. So invest in face masks. No, it's good that they already got rid of face shield, and I hope that it's going to be not going to return again in light that we are already under alert level. If we follow the health protocols, particularly the simple wearing of masks, we might be able to get out of this pandemic. Now, another new normal, the social distancing, the alcohol use. So instead, if you look at your bags, no, especially the ladies, if you look at your bags like me, I don't have perfumes in my bag anymore. What is a necessity is alcohol when I go out. Restrictive mobilization. We found ourselves locked down for months, for weeks, and especially the younger ones, the minors, the senior citizens, more restrictive for them to be able to go out under the new normal. We go to banks right now, we go to restaurants, we go to parlors, you see plastic partitions, including our public utility vehicles. Then we also have the radical shift for the academe. We found ourselves online classes, wala na yung face-to-face. And the one that thrived the most during this pandemic are the expanded platforms, digital platforms for business, for shopping, for media. Parang sila rin yung panalo, no? All of this. The rest of us, we have to contend with adapting to what we call the new normal, which again is anything but normal. Next slide, please. So, what were we doing then? How was day to day? What were the biggest changes? The new versus the old. That is where we are right now. With the way things are, you ask yourselves, should we totally abandon the old and move forward with the new? That is a big question that continues to be debated right now. Abandon the old, move forward with the new. But to me, not necessarily, because there are things in the old normal that we can continue to embrace, but we also need to adjust to the new normal, which again, experts are saying can take another 3 to 5 years. In fact, there may be no turning back for some because, along with the new normal, one of the biggest leap is the digital world, which is probably, again, the only thing that thrived well under this crisis. Next slide, please. So, what do we do next? Anong gagawin natin now that we are in this situation, now that we are being asked that we have to live and contend with this situation for at least another 3 to 5 years and probably more. You know, this virus is mutating as fast as they can find medicines and vaccines that can help combat it. And recently, we already know about the spread, about the potency of the Omicron variant. No? Dati we were fearing about the Delta. Now it's the Omicron and it's fast spreading, and countries are again starting to lock down their borders. So, what to do next? We have to revolutionize, we have to transform. It is not an easy task, but if we want to succeed, we need to embrace change. We need to adapt. Some of us will have to start from scratch, especially if what we do then is not anymore applicable today. So paano yung mga utility workers in the schools, for example? What if we will never be able to go back to face-to-face but would continue with online learning? Mawawalan sila ng trabaho. They will have to start from scratch. They will have to find new skills for them to be able to earn a livelihood. Amidst lockdown, many in the food industry converted to online deliveries. In fact, those who invested in Grab, in Food Panda, in Maxim, and what have you, are the ones that raked in big money during the last almost 2 years that we are under this COVID-19 crisis. Many restaurants, and we see that even here lang sa Bacolod, no, all around Negros, we've seen that restaurants, retail stores, they had to close as online shopping became a way of life. No, I am a fan of Shopee, of Lazada, of Shein, or what have you. Wala, I seldom, in fact, to be very honest, December ngayon, the first time I went to SM department store to do a little shopping was actually last August na. More than a year since we were forced down into this lockdown, into this restrictive mobility situation that we continue to live in. No? So ito yung problema, because if you do not adapt, no, those who initially refuse to acknowledge that the advent of the digital world is actually what we are going to be living with in the next years and generations, had to scramble and learn new technology. So kanina, I noticed during the introduction of Red, no? When you want to comment, when you want to submit your evaluation form, you had to scan a QR code. Wala yan before. Now it's QR code. Our vaccination card is QR code. Stay safe is QR code. Safe pass is QR code. Backtrack is QR code. Everything is QR code. And this is something new. So kung ikaw, if you're age 60 or something and you don't want to learn this new technology, maiiwanan ka. You will never be able to survive in this world of new digital, in the digital world. I mean, so we have to test new things. And we also saw that the emerging of the plantitos and the plantitas last year during lockdown. Wala kang magawa, you're so bored at home, you had nothing to do, and others other than online or other than going to social media or get news from online media outfit, we diverted our energy to greening our own environment. And I am one of those, of course, I'm not good in gardening, but I'm one of those who actually went out of my way to get plants and beautify my home and started greening. So there are good things that came out of this pandemic, and we just had to adapt to it. What else that the change? No, under lockdown circumstances, we were forced to be together again in a family. That's a good thing that happened. Unfortunately, even if we were together, the communication is still not there because maski nagkakaon, even when we are on the table, even when we're sharing 24/7 already in a home, most of us are still focused on our gadgets, focused on the internet, instead of taking that opportunity to actually start reviving verbal communication at home. So next slide, please. Let me just backtrack to one revolutionary thing that is happening right now. If you have been following the news, and some of you, many of you that are tuning in here are workers, one of the most controversial orders that came out recently is the mandatory vaccination program, requiring employees to get vaccinated or else bear the burden of securing an RT-PCR test every 2 weeks in order to continue their employment. This is, I think, the way out of the government to ensure that we fully vaccinate at least 70% of our population to achieve herd immunity. We have been fighting, putting out messages about the vaccination program. Unfortunately, a big chunk of our population still believe or are still scared of the vaccination, of the COVID vaccines. So this is a very, very drastic measure, and it is still being debated right now whether it's right for the government to be coercive, because this is definitely coercive, to be coercive in mandating everybody to get vaccinated. But while we may think, while others may think it is coercive, I believe that this is the only way we can keep ourselves and others safer, and more importantly, get that herd immunity status so we can get out of this crisis. You know, here it is not yet being implemented. I just came back from Manila last Monday, and there in Manila, you need to have a Vax card to be able to fully enjoy the new normal situation. You go inside the restaurant, you have to present your vaccination card. If you do not have a vaccination card, you cannot eat inside the restaurant. You can only sit outside and wait, wait for your turn to be served. So this is one incentive for those getting vaccinated. No, here I think I've heard some of this fast food offer discounts for those that are fully vaccinated, and all you have to do again is present your Vax card. For travelers, traveling has become easy, which is why for the first time, my last travel was February of 2020, just before the lockdown. And I was able to travel last week to Manila. And the only thing that actually convinced me that I can go is because I don't need to subject myself to an RT-PCR test within 72 hours before flying in because I am fully vaccinated. So there are benefits, there are incentives to get fully vaccinated. And this was mentioned by Governor Bong in the beginning of the session, those ads from celebrities, from officials, how important vaccination is. No? So communication is fundamental to the existence and survival of humans as well as to an organization. Communication, again, communication is the key. And unfortunately, it taught us a bitter lesson in our approach to this pandemic. The major culprit is when leaders failed to communicate the effects of this pandemic early on. It started with China withholding information to warn the world, global leaders failing to close their borders immediately, which led to the spread of the disease globally, including here in the Philippines. We failed to close our borders immediately. And because of this communication failure, including here from our local officials, what started out as an outbreak turned into an epidemic and now and continues to still be a worldwide pandemic. So again, communication is key, and I am glad that NOLITC is giving this kind of webinars to be able to enrich your minds about how vital communication or that communication is key to our survival as a people, to our survival as an organization. Next slide, please. So let me just magnify the COVID-19 situationer from the worldwide to the local level. No? This is an illustration of the gravity of how COVID-19 has struck us in the past less than 2 years, and why we need to push for vaccination. Worldwide, 5.22 million deaths, 264 million cases. Here in the Philippines, we have had 2.83 million cases and almost 49,000 deaths. This are figures from yesterday, and some are from 2 days ago. So every day we see deaths, we see number of cases rising, so it adds on to the figures. Western Visayas, 146,000 cases, 3,000 deaths. How many of that are from Negros? Almost 35,000 cases. 1,697 deaths as of yesterday. Bacolod has a total of 23,680 cases and 753 deaths. So these are pictures not from here, but from outside, from outside the country. But these are grim pictures of what we see, we continue to see under this pandemic. People, they bury their love. They cannot bury their loved ones. Once you die of COVID, you get cremated or you get buried immediately within 24 hours. The picture below is a scene from India during the outbreak of the Delta variant, wherein funeral pyres can be found lining up the streets because they could not anymore, the funeral parlors or the funeral official pyres for the dead cannot anymore accommodate the number of deaths that actually they say many are remain unreported. So I have been affected by COVID death. I lost a brother earlier this year, July. We lost our brother, and although he had cancer, he was hospitalized for COVID, and 10 days after his hospitalization, he actually passed away. So I think most of us here in Negros Occidental, you combine the figures of Negros and Bacolod, and you will see almost more than 2,000 deaths. So I think each one of us somehow know of a family member or of a friend who actually died or have been infected or affected by COVID-19. Next slide, please. Again, we cannot overemphasize the need for effective communication. And while other experts say there are actually more types, no, there are some say 5, some say 7, some say 8. I only listed the 3 most popular forms of communication, and these are the verbal, the nonverbal, and the visual. The images are not in order, so I just place it like that. So it's up to you to guess which is the verbal, the nonverbal, and the visual. But moving further, I'd like to explain each type. Next slide, please. So verbal communication is the use of words and vocal noises to give and receive information. This also includes written communication. Oral and written communication belong under verbal communication. So if you send out a text message, that is part of verbal communication. Anything that has the use of words and vocal noises to send out and get information in return fall under the verbal communication. Now, what is nonverbal? It refers to the ways in which beings convey information about their emotion, about their needs, intentions, attitudes, and thoughts without the use of verbal language. So meaning, it focuses more on facial expression. So kung what does it say, no? Kung nakasimangot ka, or kung gataas ang kilay mo, or if you have woeful eyes right now, it speaks. So that belongs under the nonverbal communication. This is more emotions. This is more facial expression. This is more gestures rather than the verbal language or the use of words. Visual communication, on the other hand, is the practice of graphically representing information to efficiently and effectively create meaning. And visual communication is best used by those in the marketing field, in the advertising field, of course, in public relations, campaigns, and all that other communication arms, which engages in visual and graphic designs. So next slide, please. Words matter. Now we focus more on each type of communication that we earlier defined. So the use of words, what we say matters because our words actually express our emotions, what we are thinking and feeling. We verbally express it. Those emotions are read by others and influence how others respond to us, learn from us, reflect us. Next slide, please. So actually words matter. And here it says words have direct and indirect impacts on the people who hear or read them. Sometimes we have to think about this, no? It is often best to say nothing when you have nothing good to say about others, right? Kung wala kang magandang sasabihin sa ibang tao, keep your mouth shut. That's one of the things that we should always remind ourselves, no? Because words are very, very powerful and it can actually hurt and damage other people. So next slide, please. Here is another illustration of how powerful the words, powerful words are. Words, according to Yehuda Berg, have energy and power with the ability to help, to heal, to hinder, to hurt, to harm, to humiliate, and to humble others. Considering the powerful force of the words we utter, mind you, Let us discipline ourselves to speak in a way that conveys respect, gentleness, and humility. Let us always remember that. Again, and uulit-ulitin ko to, if you have nothing good to say about others, don't say anything at all. Next slide. Emotions matter. Okay, so we were talking about words initially, and since we're talking about gender, which I did not actually include in my slide presentation, even gender language, no, was developed. The words were developed because of the advent of gender empowerment. And you see, words have become from chairman before, we now use other terms like chairperson. Stewards and stewardess are not anymore classified as such, male and female, but are called flight attendant, firefighters instead of firemen, and so on and so forth. So words, like the concept of gender, actually evolve. And especially now, we have new words coming out, not only because of the pandemic, like the new normal, but also because of the digital world. No, some words are only used within the digital world and not in our common language. So let's go to the second one. Emotions matter. This is more about the nonverbal communication that we were talking about. It's mostly expressions, body reactions, gestures, or emotion. Some experts say this is the most common form of communication, which we use actually on a daily basis. And culturally, we have our own distinct way of nonverbal communication that are only known to us. Sa kultura lang natin, di ba? Yung isa, if somebody asks you, diin mo ging butang, saan mo nilagay yung, kunwari, saan mo nilagay yung telepono? How do we reply to that sometimes? Diba? We do that. We pout our lips towards the direction of where the thing can be found. Dito lang yan sa Pilipinas. You don't do that in other parts of the world, or they might think you're asking for a kiss. Or for example, somebody asks you a question and you feel good and then you say, it's a yes to us. But in other countries, they will take that as something else, or like that, you nod, meaning you agree to something. But in other cultures, they do not recognize that as such. No, so meaning we have our own distinct expressions and gestures that are only known to us, and you have to be mindful about this when you're talking in a more global audience. Okay, next slide, please. Here are just some examples of nonverbal communication that exudes meaning. A mere stance, no, or how you stand, how you cross your arms, your facial expression. This all conveys some sort of meaning. And learning about this will actually help you in dealing with people, especially when you go to job interviews. No? The human face, they say, is extremely expressive and are able to convey countless emotions without saying a word. So even yung pagtatayo mo, even yung like nakaganyan ka or nakaganyan ka, those send signal to the person that you are talking to. So let's be mindful about the non-verbal actions that we convey to the other person that we are conversing with. So, but there is also, if we say that we have a distinct nonverbal gestures known to us, there are also expressions, facial expressions that are common globally, and these are facial expression for happiness. So what do you do when you're happy? You smile, you laugh. There's also the same unified facial expression for sadness, for anger, for surprise, for fear, for disgust. It's actually the same across cultures. No? So right now we can hide. Most of you are, I've seen some of you wearing face masks. We can hide our emotions behind the masks, behind the face shields. But it is still important to take stock of our emotions because, as they say, everything can be still seen through the eyes, which are considered, cliche it sounds, as the windows to our soul. So nakikita pa rin siya kahit naka-face mask ka, nakikita pa rin yung expression from your eyes, whether you are being truthful, whether you are being real, no? So ngayon I've grown accustomed, except right now I had to put on full makeup because I am not wearing face mask. But if you see me walking in the streets or visiting the mall, if you get my face mask off, you will only see that only this part is fully made up. The other part, I don't anymore put on things because anyway, people won't get to see you since we are required to always wear face masks all the time. So next slide, please. Here naman are two conflicting ideas about the use of emotions in communication. But one says your feelings are valid. You have every right to feel whatever emotion you want. You aren't being dramatic. You aren't over-exaggerating. You are feeling and that's okay. Kumbaga, magpakatotoo ka, bahala na, or the Keb's attitude for as long as you want to say what you feel, to express how you feel at the very moment, versus somebody saying, no matter the situation, never let your emotions overpower your intelligence. So remember, we have the IQ and the EQ, right? Sometimes we use most of the EQ, but sometimes experts are also saying telling us that we have to balance both, or in fact, use our IQ to overpower EQ, especially in very peculiar circumstances. So, ano bang tama? I think it depends on the situation. There are situations wherein you have to just affirm, you have to exert your rights. But at the same time, there are also circumstances when you have to take stock of your emotions and do not let it overpower you, especially in a workplace setting, especially when you're talking to a much higher or more superior person within the workplace. So at the end of the day, this is a thought from Kendra Cherry, and she's a psychologist, and she said, emotions do matter because it helps us to take action, it helps us to survive, it helps us to strive and avoid danger, to make decisions and to understand others. And more importantly, our emotions, when we use it properly, helps other people to understand us as well. So both are right, no? You just have to know and implement it in the right situation. Next. So we've had words matter, then we went to the emotions matter, and now we go to actions matter. Show me, don't tell me. Well, we often hear the saying, actions speak louder than words. So ito na naman tayo, actions versus words. Ano nga ba tama, no? But I'm not going to debate on that because I think, again, like emotions, it depends on the situation. I'd rather would like to read to you this excerpt from Aliyu Sidibe, who wrote a vlog on the paradox of life, do our actions matter? And he said, our time together is limited. One day you were born and one day you will die. You do not have control over what happened before the day you were born, and you will not have control over what happens after you die. What you do have control, however, is what happens between those days. We have a duty to help elevate fellow humans, but we also have a duty to fight against those who do the opposite. There will always be people who prefer to hate and divide us. We must stand up for what is right and stand up against what is wrong. So, in your time, he said, Aliyu said this, make sure to show love, kindness, and compassion. Think deeply about every step you take because you may be the reason behind the next breakthrough for our shared species. No? Next slide, please. So again, we talk about actions matter. What you do has far greater impact than what you say. And this is true. And it's nice to rub it in the faces of our local officials, di ba? National and local. And you might want to consider this, especially in the coming elections. What our politicians, what our leaders do must have greater impact than what they say. Most of them will actually promise you heaven and earth, but ask yourselves, have they delivered? Have our lives been uplifted? In the other illustration, a father tells the son, do what I say. And the child says, I see what you do. What does it mean? It's a reminder to us that we are often guilty about this. We tell our children, younger generation, to do something, yet we actually do the opposite of it. So, simple saying, dapat where should trash go? Dapat sa garbage can, no? Pero pag nakikita tayo ng bata na tinatapon natin yung trash natin everywhere, what does that tell us? Huh? We are actually doing on the contrary of what we just said. No? So opposite of what we believe in. So those are things that we should be very careful about in our communication, because when a child, especially a child, they're very impressionable. When a child sees you do something contrary to what you said, they will actually imbibe or follow what you are actually doing. Next slide, please. So effective communication under the new normal. This is from Neil Gaiman, one of my favorite authors, and he said it is incredibly important because it allows us to make sense of our lives. Communication, words, stories allow us to make sense of our lives, in allowing us to escape our lives, in giving, in extending empathy to others, and in creating the world that we live in. So we need to actually have effective communication under the new normal, and I am now going into those details. Next slide, please. So again, why do we need communication? Because it serves actually 5 major purposes, and these are to inform, to express feelings, to imagine, to picture out words and messages visually, and to influence and meet social expectations. And one best way to communicate is through stories. The media knows that the power of stories. All of us are actually stories at one point or another. And why are stories important? Because they have incredible power to reach others. They elicit response and create ripple effects. They influence, they motivate, they challenge, they teach us about lives, and they connect the past and present to the future. Next slide, please. So one of the most popular way, again, is every day we are all, sinabi ko na, we are all born storytellers. Every day we tell stories, no? Common greetings like, kumusta ka? What's up, man? What happened? Ano nangyari? Those are things that we often ask our friends and relatives every day, no? These are actually opening intros to a story about to be told. So even through text, pag nag-text ka, musta ka na da? And then he answers or she answers back. That leads to a conversation. And then you exchange stories about what happened yesterday, what's going to happen today, etc., etc. Verbal and non-verbal play a big role in how conversations will move forward. Example, sinabi ko na, kumusta ka? When it is met with an explanation or paghambal ko, kumusta ka? Tapos nagambal ka, ay kabalo ka, ano natabo kahapon? Ano nangyari kahapon? Ganyan, etc., etc. That starts off a conversation. Another way, kumusta ka? And then the person you're talking with suddenly say, or shrugs, or just stares at you, or gives you an angry look. What does it say? It's nonverbal. But what do? Common reaction natin, what do? We go seek someone else that is close or common to that other person and ask, nano to siya? Ano tabo? Look at it or something, those things, tapos nag-chismis na. And then, again, we expanded a simple kumusta ka into several stories. Chismis is one way of communication that Filipinos are fond of. No? In your work, as probable call center agents someday, or are actually call center agents right now, or are teachers, no? When you ask someone and that someone gives you a negative reaction, do not dismiss it. Do not dismiss it. Learn the power of listening. Find the reason. Search out the reason behind that expression, that reaction. Because again, and I love this phrase, find the person behind that story and the story behind the person. Do not dismiss it, especially now under this pandemic, when emotions can vary from here to there, mood swings go down, go up and down like we've never seen before. Isolations have become a factor in how we deal with lives. These are things that we have to be mindful of. And sometimes all it takes is the power of listening skills to be able to touch, to be able to communicate with another person and actually help that person out. Okay, next slide, please. We now go to the biggest challenge in communication today. And somebody actually posted that question earlier, which distracted me. How is communication being challenged by the world of social media? This is from Hootsuite, and they say, this pandemic especially, has placed the world on steroids, meaning everything is so fast-paced, everything doesn't even get filtered in social media. In the Philippines alone, we have 73.1 million internet users, 89 million social media users. And look at the increase between 2020 and this year, 16 million. Totoo bang mga tao to? Perhaps. But we should also include those with duplicate accounts or hundreds of accounts, especially right now that we are in a very, very heated political campaign. So most of those, probably a million or so, are not even actual persons, but are actually just duplicated accounts due to the campaign, or we call them the farm trolls. No? So social media users in the country is equivalent to 80% of our population. Imagine if we can convince all of those social media users to get vaccinated, we would have achieved herd immunity even before the end of 2020. But unfortunately, social media also propagated fear among its users, and that led to the very low turnout for our vaccination campaign. So, see the irony? We have 80% of our population empowered in using social media, yet what are being fed to them are actually not accurate, not factual, but fake news. Can you imagine in 24 hours, an average Filipino now spends 10 hours a day on the internet. We in the media, we spend more probably. We are always on the internet. We are always monitoring news. We are always conversing with people all over social media in our desire to get the news on time. No, so I think average Filipino, meaning those that are just working at home or in a workplace, spend 10 hours per day. And the best time actually, ang sinasabi nila, the best time or the most, what do you call it? Yung very, very active yung social media is between 6 to 9 in the morning and late at night. Those are the days when people are more often using social media. Next slide, please. So as you can see, this is the world figures, no, and this is latest figures called in 2020, meaning this is last year pa. And you look at the top most popular social media platform. It's Facebook. In 2019, 2.4 billion users of Facebook in the world. That's an increase from 2.234 in just a year, no? So it is followed by YouTube and then WhatsApp, which is more popular in European countries than here. Then we have the Messenger, we have the WeChat, the Instagram, and the QQ. If you look at below that, there's TikTok. No, I haven't heard of TikTok until the pandemic, when everybody actually was TikToking. So right now, I'm pretty sure these numbers have actually doubled. This figure is just, this data is just to let you know how influential social media has become. No? Wala na the barriers, the global barriers have actually disappeared because of social media, the popularity of social media. Even media, traditional media are very, very affected, by the popularity of social media. That's why if you look at all your local news media outfit, we are all on Facebook because it's the most popular form of a digital platform right now. Next slide. So here, some of you are saying the danger of fake news. If you look at this illustration, this represents the algorithm that social media, that you can see now in social media. It often, it often confuses me how when I talk to somebody who believes differently than me, I usually ask, where do you get such information? And then they say, I'm being fed. I saw this in social media. And yan yung nangyayari ngayon. Whatever you do on social media, even if your Facebook account is closed or you are talking to somebody, the algorithm in the digital world have actually captured your interest and continue to feed you from the sites that you frequent. So if you frequent a fake news site, yun ang papasok sa'yo. And then, as Lenin said, the propagandist of Russia, a lie often told often enough actually becomes the truth. And this is what is happening. This is a phenomena in the Philippine politics. A lie that was fed to you, you are now believing it as truth. So, dyan yung problema. Facebook does not have the fact-check department. In fact, tayo yun. Some media outfit verifies. There are other media outlets become an organization to verify information that are being fed online because nakikita nila ang dami-daming fake news. Hindi mapigilan ang fake news. So ikaw, if you're a Facebook user and you are not discerning well what is being fed to you, or you don't go to credible sites to fact check what is being fed to you, if that is continually bombarded to your brain, you see that news every day, then that lie, that fake news, you will start believing in it as real news. And that's the danger that the social media has presented to us. Next slide. So again, communicating in the new normal. Here is one quote that says, we don't have a choice on whether we do social media. We actually don't have a choice. If we want to adapt, if we want to advance, we have to embrace social media. So it's not anymore of saying, I don't want to be in Facebook. If you want to be in, if you want to be relevant, if you want to make, if you want to influence, if you want to say something that you think people should hear about, you have to be in social media. The question is how well you do it. Paano natin gagamitin tama ang social media? So, as a reminder, pag may nakita tayong news or whatever, finifeed sa atin, reread it. Reread and reread and reread before mo i-share. Hindi yung pagkita mo, hindi mo pa nga nababasa yung buong article, share na ng share. So, most of us, we don't bother opening links and reading about it. Most of us, if we see the visual is appealing and we see the messaging is appealing, we readily believe it as true and we share it without even thinking about it. Again, reread before hitting send. Okay? Next slide, please. What else that we should think of under the new normal? You check your vocal tone, especially now na wala tayong face-to-face masyado. Diba? We are still relatively social distancing, physical distancing. Wala pa yung face-to-face. We're still 50% workforce. Most of us still work at home. The tone is very important. What you say over the phone, if you cannot see each other, if you cannot tell each other face to face, your tone is very important. So always check your vocal tone. It's the most important part of a call. Again, let us be mindful. It is not what you said sometimes. It's not just the words. It's how you say it. These are some of the reminders that we need to get used to be able to effectively communicate under this new normal. Next slide. Okay. Ito visually. Smile. So broad, even the mask can't hide. No? Smile, nod, make eye contact more than usual when you're on camera or behind a mask, especially if behind a mask. Because, di ba, minsan, sometimes we laugh at ourselves when somebody say, oh, picture, nakamask naman tayo. But underneath, we continue to smile even if hindi nakikita yung smile. Mind you, even if hindi nakikita yung actual smile mo, your eyes will always register whether you are actually smiling underneath that face mask. So get used to it. Try to smile wider than ever para makita yung real smile that the mask won't eventually be able to hide it. No? Right now, we are so used to it. So another 3 to 5 years of wide grin instead of just mere smile underneath those face masks. That's how you communicate through your eyes because you cannot actually express full facial expression. Okay, next slide. So here, a reminder. If you noticed last year during lockdowns, we've had people going around. It went viral in the news about people biking around with signs, holding up signs, asking people, kumusta ka na during lockdown. See, those are people with empathy. They care so much about other fellow human beings who are not even known to them. They just empathize because they know how it feels to be isolated, to be misunderstood, to be unheard, to be alone during lockdowns. So it is very important. One very, very big contribution that we can make during this crisis is to check in with people, not to reiterate action items, but continue to build on relationships virtually or even from apart. No? So these are just messages of hope that we can send out. People thanking people who checked up on them from time to time, and it meant so much during lockdown. If you see videos that also went viral in Europe, it started in Italy and it also happened in Manila. People started coming out of their balconies, no, and started singing and just went say hi to neighbors across, shouting at each other because we need to get isolated from one another. But still, they were able to find ways to check in with people, to continue that relationship, to make sure that others feel that they are not alone in facing this crisis. Next slide. Okay. Again, tell them what you're going to tell them and tell them and tell them again. Parang this is the same concept as Lenin. A lie often told, becomes true when told often enough or many, many times. Same as sending out messages. Tell it, repeat it, and repeat it, and repeat it as often as you can until the recipient actually receives the communication properly. Because a message sent is sometimes not always a message received. So if you look at sometimes may magme-message sa'yo, you just look at it, tapos wala na. You forget to reply because I don't know, for some reason, that ako gawin ko yan. When somebody texts me, I saw the message, then, to me it's okay, but I don't reply. So that's the sender will again send me a message thinking that I did not get it. And then that forces me now to reply. So it's the same thing. If you do not get a reply from the person that you are sending a message, send and send it again until you get a confirmation that the message has been received. No? Because we cannot do it physically. We cannot do it verbally as much as we want. We can only do it virtually or digitally or online and all that stuff. So send and send the message until it is completely received. Next slide. Okay, conveying a friendly, agreeable attitude is harder in the new normal. Bakit? Not only because we are wearing face masks most of the time, but because we don't see each other often. So with that, we take an extra step, an extra mile, extra attention on how we project ourselves to others under this new normal. And I think if we get used to it, it will benefit us more even after we get out of this crisis. Being friendly, being agreeable will work better, not just in the new normal, but even better beyond, or going back to what we were before the new normal set in. Next slide. Again, other tips: make as much eye contact as possible, because again, mask and shields hide facial expressions. So to compensate, eye contact is very important. Voice, the tone is very important to get your message across. Again, words, choosing of words is very important. So you say exactly what you mean. No big words, clear, concise, direct to the point words to say and express exactly what you mean. Repeat and rephrase until the message gets received. Use hand signals and nodding to let people know that they have it right. So hindi yung dead makala. I mean, you have to acknowledge that you got the message correctly. Whether you are in a virtual workplace or just socially distanced, remind yourself that we are all in this challenging situation together. A supportive attitude and a few adjustments can actually help overcome even the most frustrating communication challenges. So we have a lot of things that needs to hurdle to be able to actually communicate effectively under the new normal. And it starts now. It should start now. It should start within our own, workplace, our own family. Start now, because we are going to be facing this again in the next 3 to 5 years. Next slide. So that's the end of my presentation. I hope you all stay safe, and I hope you will continue to communicate. Maraming salamat. Get vaccinated and practice basic health protocols. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Mate, for that presentation. I love the poem that you have shared with us. So probably later I will be asking you for a copy of that poem. And I like the one that you said, do not dismiss what you hear and what you see, because it might send some signals to you on what to do with the one that is sending that message, or actions. All right. So we have actually received a lot of questions from our open forum link. So I hope you are ready. Okay. So first question: what is the role of social media in communication in the new normal?
Oh, it plays a very, very big role. In fact, it has overtaken all forms of communication. Everybody is in social media right now. That's the way to communicate. Even in our organizations, I belong to Rotary International. Even in our organizations, we've actually abandoned the idea of going to the traditional media, because social media is the place to be in. You can reach a wider audience. If you saw the figures earlier, 2 point something billion users around the world. Wala siyang barrier. Social media has diminished or destroyed global barriers. No, here when we subscribe, for example, I used to work with Daily Star. No, when you subscribe to Daily Star, we only have 3,000 plus copies circulating around the province. Tayo lang yun nakakabasa. We're the only ones reading through it. But now, with social media, thousands, hundreds of thousands, even millions can be reached. And it is actually the biggest contributor. I mean, it's actually plays a vital role in how we communicate under the new normal. Information are being sent through social media rather than through traditional media outfits. We don't even use email as much anymore. Everything we communicate via Messenger, WhatsApp, Viber. We exchange notes in those chat boxes. We don't do it over emails anymore. Things are fast changing. In social media, let's call it the culprit, but it has its advantages and disadvantages.
Yes, indeed, social media is a very effective tool in sending your message. All right, so let's proceed to question number 2. In your presentation, you said words matter. What do you think is the importance of communication, especially to those who were affected by COVID-19?
Yes. I said it earlier and I will repeat it again. The failure in communication was actually the biggest culprit in why we are now in this pandemic. If our world leaders, including World Health Organization, if they were able to clearly communicate what is COVID-19, how we should live through COVID-19, how we should protect ourselves from COVID-19. If leaders did not lie about the situation in their own countries, about this virus attacking people, dying left and right, we would not have reached this state of the crisis that we are in. Words matter. If the messaging was actually said properly and at the right time, we, this could have turned out differently.
Yeah. You're right. So let's now proceed to question number 3. You said, okay, another.
Communication against those affected by COVID-19. No? I think the messaging also about what is the virus, how it can affect you, and the only way to prevent ourselves from infecting others and getting infected ourselves through vaccination. Our government has failed in that as well. The messaging they were not able to prevent the scare, the fake news about the fear regarding COVID-19. They were not able to crush it. No? Instead, dapat nung una pa lang they should have sent out clear message allaying the fears of the people. So para siguro by now we would have achieved herd immunity kung lahat ng tao receive the same message from the government.
You think they could have done something with regards to the fake news proliferating about COVID-19 even before it,
Yes, definitely. Government has departments, the DICT, your technology departments. Each government agency has a technology arm, digital arm. They could have utilized those, even in figures, even in presenting figures, how many are dying at the moment. They could have played the major role to be able to tell the people exactly what COVID-19 is and how it can affect you and how you can protect yourselves. So there really was a failure of communication. Again, communication is very important. It shapes us. It shapes our nation. It shapes our history.
Yeah, right. Okay, that was a very nice answer. So now let's proceed to question number 3. You said words have power. What is your thoughts on the proliferation of fake news in social media? This is not only about COVID, even for the upcoming elections as well.
It is very, very frustrating, because we do not have that many people to be security guards in over what is happening in social media. Again, we have very few agencies that are responsible on fact-checking. And sinabi na nga natin, a lie told often becomes truth. So we should be wary about that. Each one of us, social media is there. It's a tool, but we should be responsible for ourselves and for the people around us. If we think it's our responsibility to check whether news is fake or not. We should not readily believe in it. We should be discerning about what is being fed over social media. That's the only way we can prevent fake news from happening. And yung sinabi ko na, before hitting the button send, check and check. Because when you send that, you are part of that community that spreads and enables others to continue believing in fake news.
Yeah, that's what they said. Think before you click. Right? Okay, so question number 4. How did the pandemic change the communication norms?
How did the pandemic change the communication norms? Only via social media, I think, because all the other forms of communication are still being followed. No, we still use written, we still use less of oral because we are less face to face. No, there's no more physical interaction. So I think the nonverbal is still there. Most of it actually is now becoming nonverbal. In fact, nonverbal has become digital also. If you see emoticons, di ba? Angry emoticons, LOL, kung ano-ano pa dyan. Those are the new forms of communication that still belong under a certain type. So it still belongs under nonverbal. But I think the most affected is the verbal communication, which without this virtual webinars, probably talagang isolated na gidya ang tao. So pandemic changed the communication norms. People started believing in social media, getting news from social media rather than, the traditional news outfit.
It's a good thing that the news outlet right now also resort to social media. They have pages where we can also follow and subscribe. Right. So question number 5, do you always react? This is more of a personal question. Do you always react positively when someone shares fake news or opinions that are different from yours?
This is very personal to me. Since the pandemic, actually, since the pandemic started, I am an opinion writer. So I expect people will not agree to what I write. People will not subscribe to my idea. What I do, I ignore. I don't like to read. I don't like to read negative comments. No, I don't even like to share negative stories. Um, I've told myself since the pandemic that I need to be more positive because damo na wrinkles ko and I don't want to be stressed in life. So I've 100% cum laude naging ko sa Keb's attitude.
That's what they said. Ignore the bashers. Right? Yes, that's the best thing to do. All right, so let's go to question number 6. What are the problems that you see when it comes to the digital age and communication?
The very obvious problem right now in the digital age is how can I should not be saying this, but how can the older generation catch up? Most of us, some of us, even at this age, we are fortunate that we actually we were introduced to digital technology in school pa, no? Or media. Media has been, since we work, Sally, ikaw, nag-work naman sa media. We worked in media and technology. We are the first among the few that were introduced to technology early on. But the biggest problem, the biggest hurdle would be faced by the elderly, by the senior citizens, many of whom refuse to actually embrace that there is no way to go but embrace digital age. That's the new age right now. There's no going back. There's no more typewriter. There's no more there's no more telegram. Even landlines are slowly disappearing. Everything is actually via the internet. Yes, and mobile phone. So those are the problems that we are going to see. Those are the generation that are going to get very much affected by digital age. The younger set, walang problema because even my granddaughter, I think she's more savvy than me when it comes to digital technology. Tayo, we have to continue learning to be able to survive in this digital age.
Yeah. Well, while we adapt to this technical or technology, still we need to be responsible, right? Especially for the younger generation. Okay, so question number 6, based on what you have learned about communication, what advice or what are the number 7, number 6? We already answered this one, right? Based on what you have learned about communication, what advice do you offer?
Each one of us have each one of us just have to work on ourselves. We have to start with ourselves. What do you think works for you? How fast you can adapt to technology? Work at your own pace. We are given that leisure right now under this pandemic, but you have to adapt. There's no way. There's no way but to adapt. There's no way but to change. Communicating will still innovate. Communicating will still evolve. And someday, if we don't start now, if we don't start adapting now, we might find ourselves being left behind. So just be mindful that even if the mode, no, even if the mode of communication changes and it goes more digital, the thought remains the same. The words we use remain the same. The emotions we display will always remain the same. And those are the important facts. Those are the important factors of communication. Mahala na daang mode. Technology will always be there. But remember always the format, the words. Be conscious of the words. Be conscious of your expressions. Be conscious of your emotions and your actions.
I love it when you said earlier that we should practice mindfulness and kindness when communicating with others. Okay, let's proceed to question number 8. How does digital communication differs from face-to-face communication?
Here, what we're doing right now is digital.
Yeah.
What you and Tina and the rest of the staff in NOLITC is doing is face-to-face. There is nothing really different except that we cannot control glitch, technology glitch. Sa face-to-face, walang glitch. What you see is what you get. When you say it out, yun na yun. Sa digital communication, when we get glitches, we sometimes lose the message. And we are so often used to texting, to sending chats, to sending messages through chat groups. It's different. Sending a message via written form is always different than saying it personally through face-to-face. So there's that difference. Again, it's in the format. It's how you send your message across, whether it's digital, whether it's written, whether it's face-to-face. It's how you send and say the message across.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so let's proceed to question number 9. How to identify, this is your forte, how to identify fake news from the real one?
You know, I am so disappointed by a lot of people when they say, no, this is the true, when we all know it's fake. You know, we all went to school. Most of us, we all went to school. We studied these things, no? So if you think it is fake news, check it. Google is there. It is at the click of your fingertips. Check the news and try to see whether it's for real or not, no? And if it's not real, then discard it immediately. Don't be part of that community that spreads fake news. It's very difficult. You know, there are a lot of fake news that came out bearing the banner of Inquirer, of Philippine Star. These are credible news stories. Even CNN, we've seen a lot of that fake news. So it is up to us to check. Make that as your personal responsibility. Otherwise, it's your fault. If you get misled, it's your fault. But make that as a responsibility. May responsibility ka sa sarili mo. May responsibility ka sa tao to be able to know and to share only real news than fake news.
But what can you say about this? It's a sad thing that some are even professionals, teachers, that also shares fake news. I'm not generalizing everyone, but
oh my gosh, I know a lot of them. Not just teachers, no. They mean professionals.
Professionals.
I have friends na parang of the same age, and this is what I've been asking them. Can you tell me what your source is? Because I know we had social studies, I know we had history, I know we went to the same school, I know we read the same books. How come you believe differently? You know, so it's. I think it's. I think it's again. Social media has a lot to do with this. It's the information that is being fed to them, and they just don't have time to actually differentiate what is real and what is not. So eventually, that fake one becomes again the truth to them, and that is very very unfortunate, and that is something that we should be constantly telling others. You have that responsibility to discern, to act. It's actually in your hands. Eh. You do not blame. We should not blame those creator of fake news. They are being paid to do that. They are being paid to influence us. But it is in your power to actually believe in it or not. And it only takes a simple click asking Google to check whether it's real or not.
Right. So especially now with the upcoming election, there are a lot. So for our viewers, be informed, right? And be, yeah. So let's proceed to question number 10. Do you think traditional media entities or other agencies can survive its existence without transitioning to digital communication?
No. With this pandemic, I don't think so. Everybody, if you look at the even community newspapers, they've already gone digital. You cannot be left behind. Traditional media can still be blended. Other people, especially the older generation, would still prefer to hold newspapers in their hand and read it thoroughly. And
Yeah.
sometimes, it's nicer. Maski ako, I like to read books. I don't like to read e-books. No?
Yeah.
Because the smell, the smell of the books is
Yeah.
different from just reading through Kindle or your iPad or what have you. So traditional media will continue to exist in the platform that they are, like radio, like television, like newspapers, but it should be blended. It should be coupled with a digital art. And
But I guess,
eventually,
yeah.
believe me, eventually, this traditional media will disappear completely. The news outfit will still be there, but it's going to be digital platform. And it's going to become free media.
Yes. But as of now, right, most of them actually transitioned into digital media. Okay, so that's the question, our last question for this afternoon. How can the media help stop the spread of fake news in social media?
Media is actually partly responsible for I mean we have to be very honest about this. We are part of we are part of that entire cycle. Sometimes a fake news, diba? It's common to us, a very very fake or controversial quote pag nilagay sa ere, we ask a source, will you comment on this, without even checking whether that quote was actually said or not. No? And when somebody answers to the fake quote, it becomes news. So I think we should start, the media should start from within, educating ourselves that if we are asking people to click and check and fact check the news that are coming around, we should start and fact check first the communication or the items that we are going to be telling people. On the other hand, I don't believe it is the media's role to police social media. That is beyond our scope. Our scope is to deliver accurate, factual news to the people, to the public. We do not have the power to police social media and take down fake communication. Supposedly, that is Facebook should have that arm, or government should have that arm. It's not up to us.
So we will just hope and pray that the government will, come up with a decision to really police the social media. Okay, so that's all for all the questions. Any parting message for our viewers?
Yun lang. Again, let me just stress siguro that we should not hand over the responsibility to others on how we're going to move forward in this digital age. It is the responsibilities in our hands. We should empower ourselves to learn how to discern what is real and what is not.
Mhm.
Good afternoon.
Thank you so much, Ms. Mate Espina, for sharing your thoughts about communications in the new normal. Indeed, what I have learned from her that was actually I wanted to share it with you. Always practice mindfulness and be kind with others. Be kind with your words. Be kind with your actions. And be kind to your emotions as well. Okay, so that's all for today. I would like to turn you over now to Miss Red Dawn.
Thank you, Miss Sally. This has been a very informative afternoon for every one of us. We would like to express our most profound appreciation to our incredibly cognizant expert speaker for this afternoon, Miss Mate Espina, and to our exceptional moderator today, Miss Sally Carmentrio, for her superb facilitation of this webinar. Thank you very much. Shall we give them a virtual round of applause? And if you like this webinar, please share some virtual reactions. Give this talk a thumbs up and a virtual clap, virtual hearts reaction to our expert speaker, Miss Mate. And also, let us send one another some virtual hug reactions. Shall we do that? Thank you. Now, we move on to the awarding of the certificate to our resource speaker. And the certificate reads, shall we invite our expert for virtual stage? Thank you. The province of Negros Occidental and Negros Occidental Language and Information Technology Center awards this certificate of appreciation to Miss Mate Espina for sharing her valuable knowledge and expertise in this webinar, Communication in the New Normal, given this second day of December 2021 via Facebook and YouTube. Thank you, Ms. Mate.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Our pleasure. As for the province of Negros Occidental, through our Governor Eugenio Sebang Lacson, we continue to deliver responsive gender and development programs. And to conclude this webinar with a hopeful note, let us hear from the very passionate and supportive Provincial Gender and Development Focal Point System Action Officer, Ms. Marijun P. Castro.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you and congratulations to all involved in the conduct of this GAD webinar. To our resource person, we truly appreciate your sharing of your time and insights in today's episode of the GAD Webinar Series 2021, organized by the Negros Occidental Language and Information Technology Center. Our participants are indeed blessed and privileged to be able to hear your inputs. NOLITC is living up to its title as one of our GAD champions, a multi-awarded institution that not only inspires but also cares for the trainees and their families and the larger community as well. By coming up with this webinar, NOLITC has indeed recognized that all issues are women's issues, that the COVID-19 pandemic will not stop us from addressing issues that matters, especially if they affect our youth, our children, who are considered our future. We thank NOLITC for providing a safe way of educating our constituents. As the action officer of the Provincial GAD Focal Point System, I join my fellow GAD advocates in telling our young Negrenses that you are important, you are loved, not only by your family, but also by your provincial government. Thank you and congratulations to all. Avance, Negrense.
Thank you, Ma'am Castro. Moreover, we would like to thank our active participants for tuning in up to the end of this session. Madamo gid nga salamat. I also would like to emphasize how you can get a certificate for this webinar. Please provide us your evaluation through the link provided in the description box below, or you may scan the QR code flash on your screen. Please do this right after the end of this webinar, or you may do so right now. Your email address should be typed in correctly, and please be careful with the spelling of your email address so it won't bounce back. Let me remind you that we will be using your feedback and your comments to further improve the delivery of our service and webinars in the future. The evaluation site will be open until 6 o'clock this evening only. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. This concludes our Gender and Development Webinar 6, Communication in the New Normal. Next week, we will have another exciting webinar that will be on Monday, which is entitled Sedona Method, with our expert speaker and one of our favorite counselors, Miss Rebecca Lanes. See you in the same platform that you're currently using. You should be able to get a reminder email through in your email. So that's it, everybody. This is Red again, your host, reminding you na magpabakuna na, and stay safe and take care. NOLITC Inspire, NOLITC Cares, Avance, Negrense.
Hi! This is Waki Kiray. Bakunado na ako. Ikaw, ya? San o ka pa magpabakuna na para bansik ka? Ganang.
Besh, nakabakuna ka na? Amligan ang ikaayong lawas, magpabakuna na para abanse ka.
Woo!